You hit on something so important here, Richard, about the empathy and emotional intelligence element. And
Oh,
and just similarly to some of the other leadership qualities that can't be taught. You know, when I think about like that innate passion and drive and energy and enthusiasm,
yeah.
the EQ, being authentic and exuding authenticity in what you do, that can't be taught. And
No.
frankly, the vision piece that you hit on first. Now, the beauty in all of this, though, is that we can, I almost envision this like my dad's old stereo, right?
There you
You
go.
can still twist and tune the knobs. You can
Yeah,
find balance in these things. You don't want to be dominated by your emotions, right?
sure.
But you do want to make sure that they exist and that you give space for emotions to be had, that you're acknowledging the emotions of others. I realized for a very long time that when things would go amiss, I would just quickly take it, dismiss it, move on. I can't do that as a husband, as a dad, as a
Oh,
leader, because everybody processes these things in different ways. I can't just tell somebody, "Hey, don't worry about it. Let's keep moving." I can't do that as a leader, and I honestly I would find myself doing that. And so I think that we can find balance, and we can continue to find ways where we can enhance those untrainable qualities.
and I like what you said there because and as we're even bantering back and forth, and I'm thinking about some of the my favorite leaders in my life that have led me over the years. Did they have all of Harvard Business Review's top 12 qualities of a leader? No, they didn't. They had maybe three or four, but they were willing to learn and they were willing. There's an old saying, experience is the greatest teacher. So if there's some young leaders that are listening to this podcast, I think I would tell them to get some experiences underneath your belt, some of those failures, be willing to go back and say, you know what, on this, I think I really screwed up. And number one, I want to apologize. Number two, I want to tell you it won't ever happen again. But number three, I have really learned some things from you on this. And I just want to tell you thank you for pouring into my leadership. That kind of grace and humility, number one, you even heard me probably swallow really hard. It takes you to swallow, but it
Yeah.
also takes a little bit of getting out of the way of yourself and asking for again the feedback, but not being afraid to say, you know what, I had to do this to my grandson. I went in and apologized to them. Hey, I got a little bit coarse with you over this, and this wasn't your fault. And I just want you to know that even G Diddy, your grandpa, he screws up every once in a while. So I just want to apologize to you.
My gosh. I mean, you've practically got me speechless. I think about this, Richard, and I understand. Like, I look back and you're thinking about young leaders, and sometimes the odds are so stacked against folks when they come in, and we feel so much pressure. We put pressure on ourselves. And until you've been in that pressure cooker, you don't really know like how to navigate it. I having the years and experiences under my belt, I know what I can tune out as noise. I know how to answer the different masters that I serve. But on the same token, like until I got to that point, I wasn't at that point. So you feel like you're pulled in a lot of different directions. I was very insecure as a young leader. So I put this armor on myself and I acted like I was invincible because the signals that I was getting from elsewhere was that I needed to be invincible. I came up in a culture that was kind of an old boys club, and it was
Yeah.
very like rooted in Wall Street. I mean, I kid you not. I had a manager in the early 2000s that would call me every morning and like quote Gordon Gecko to me. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
that's where I was living, right? So like you don't tell your leadership vulnerable pieces or like insights into your personal life because they'll be used against you
Oh,
the same
100%.
week if you do. And so that's where I came up. And so there was a lot of challenges. I almost felt this compulsion to toot my own horn, to be
Sure.
seen. And I was doing it in the wrong ways because of that pressure, because I didn't know how to stand the test of time as a leader. I was doing a lot of the right things because of the things that can't be taught. We come to the table with these tools, right? But they might be blunt instruments. And until we can sharpen our axe or make sure that we sharpen these tools, we can't fine tune them into the things that can be trained, like excellent time management or
Yeah.
discipline and how we lead and coach and how we show up and how we meet people where they need to be met and how we uncover the why of everybody that we touch. Once you uncover what makes somebody tick, I spend so much of my time now helping people that trying to help them understand the things that I wish I had known when I was in their role that nobody showed me. But I went through it, I found it the hard way. And so that's a lot of times the value that I can bring to my team is helping show them these things that I've learned and, helping them understand like the complexities of how they get paid, how they take their career by the horns, how they master their career trajectory, how they master networking and creating relationships. And so I think it's a call to action for all leaders to figure out like what are these unique inherent strengths and superpowers that I bring to the table, and then how can I, in the playing field that I'm given, how can I most successfully and impactfully use them to lift everybody else around me? And I think that will help turn the knobs and bring balance to some of these unique areas that can be taught.
Well, Warren Buffett, and I heard this story secondhand, but
You
Warren
didn't hear
Buffett,
it from Warren?
no, not firsthand, but from somebody who attended the conference that he was speaking at. They were, it was the Q&A time, and he was up on stage doling out all kinds of wisdom. And the question came up, these are a lot of young leaders. There's about 1,000 young leaders in front of you, Warren, that are sitting here. What advice would you give to these young leaders? Of course, everybody in the audience gets out their pen and pad, and they've got their phone up recording. He's, and they're expecting some kind of financial advice. Well, this is what I would do with my money. This is what I would do with X, Y, and Z, or make sure that you diversify, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever the typical thing that you would expect from Warren Buffett. And he said, if I could instill two things in all of these people that are sitting here, I would tell them, learn how to communicate and learn how to connect.
Mm.
And that's what you're talking about, Carson. The two key ingredients that can be taught is learning how to connect with other people. What's your communication style? How do you like to be communicated with? What's your form of communication? What are some of your dislikes? What are some of your stressors in your life? What are some of your motivators? How can I motivate you if I don't know what your own personal motivators are?
Yeah.
So how to connect with individuals and how to communicate. Both of those things can be taught and are key.